So, Gordie and I want to visit with you about the S-Corp versus Schedule C. And I want you to note that either one of these can be an LLC. So, when you ask, what should I do related to an LLC and say things about being an LLC, that's for legal purposes only, has nothing to do with taxes. So, in electing to be an S-Corp versus a Schedule C, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is something called self-employment taxes. And, this is a big one for realtors. And for realtors, you really get into this when you're getting this 1099 income, because when that income comes into play, it comes on a 1099 NEC, which means that it should be subject to what's called SE tax. Well, what's the big deal on that? Well, SE tax, okay, is in addition to, so you add it, it's a plus, it's in addition, okay, trying to really make this clear to you, but it's in addition to taxes, okay, so one tax, two tax. And what is that self-employment tax? Well, on Schedule C, okay, I'm going to do a red line here on Schedule C, that is subject to self-employment tax. The net income from an S, not subject to self-employment tax. So I don't know that you got to be a genius just to know that's subject to two taxes, that's subject to one tax. Well, self-employment tax is 15.3%. So let's just say that you net $100,000, okay? So there's a lot of figures to it, and those that know how all this works, we know we've got QBI, we've got half of the self-employment tax on Schedule 1, right? All kinds of different things. We know that an S-Corp's got wages. We know that a Schedule C might have a home office different than that. Yada, 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 yada. Okay? So let's just really get down to brass tacks. And yes, there's all these other things to it. But if you were to net $100,000 on your business, okay, for the S-Corp, okay, zero. I don't know why people get mad when you show this to you. It pays zero self-employment tax. You net $100,000 on a Schedule C, and this is just self-employment taxes. $15,300. Let me put a dollar sign with that. That's just self-employment taxes. Now, I've got a little schedule that I'll give you a link to. And so with that, I've done this calculation that if we have a single filer, no other exceptions, no dependents, yada, 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 with the QBI and the wages and all that good stuff, okay? So the regular income tax, because remember there's two levels of tax, the regular income tax for an S-Corp, okay, not corporate tax. This is why you shouldn't do any of this stuff by yourself. But the regular tax is regular tax is $11,892, okay? And the regular tax, yep, because of these minor differences, is actually a little less when we're talking about a Schedule C. But your total tax is $11,892. Well, your regular tax plus your self-employment tax here, we'll do some old-fashioned arithmetic, okay? $11,892 versus $24,992. Why? What's the difference? Self-employment tax. Now, let's say you go, oh, but there's wages. But see, on wages, you're going to pay Social Security and Medicare, employer, employee, you're going to have a match, blah, 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 blah. And on wages, there's a 15.3% tax, not showing up on your Form 1040. See, this is on your Form 1040, okay? There's no corporate tax here. This is all on your 1120S down to your individual. So individual, your tax is 11,892 versus 24,992. Okay? I mean, it seems obvious. Now, yes, if we were to do self-employment tax versus payroll tax, the difference is that on the payroll tax, I get to choose what dollar amount I want it to be with versus just being on the railroad track and it's just whatever the net is. And there are some special exceptions for realtors, which I do cover in my seminar. I've got a link to it. But let's just say for grins, and people are going to lose their minds over this, and it just depends on where you're coming from. But all I'm going to do to make this easy is that for every 10,000 of wages, you pay 1,530 of payroll tax, and that's Social Security and Medicare, employee and employer portion, 15.3%. So 1,530. So if you paid yourself 10,000 in wages, which you wouldn't be able to get away with, really. But if you then did 30,000, well, maybe that's 4,530. All I'm saying is that even if you did 50 grand, it's going to be less than that. Okay. So do you want to make sure that you're subject to the right things and it's a fit? Heck yeah. So check out my other videos, but you got to get a tax advisor. Gordie's 8 weeks old. I will plan for Gordie to be one of the smartest Frenchies or possibly of any dog in the world when we're all said and done. And, maybe it just was a little more fun, to watch this because I was holding a dog. So this is my first video with Gordie. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget. Mwah. How you doing? Thanks for listening. Mwah. You want to tell everybody? Yeah? Okay. Gordie's going to tell you as well. Don't you ever forget, you've never met a Frenchie quite like Gordie. It's a girl. Gordie. And you've never met a CPA quite like me, clearly. All right. Hey, we'll see ya. Hope this helps. Go save you some tax. Good job, Gordie. Good job, sweetie.